Hi everyone, welcome to Viomitra Civil Center channel. I'm excited to start this new journey with you all. My goal is to provide comprehensive guidance and resources for those aspiring to crack the UPSC Civil Service exam. In fact, I am also an aspirant. Without any further delay, let's get into the video. In this video, we will be discussing history and evolution of civil service in India. I will cover topics such as introduction of civil service, during British rule, post independence. After all, I will ask some practice questions for revision and I will explain some points so you can understand easily. By the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of evolution of civil service in India. Let's begin. Introduction. Varanasi laid the foundation of civil service in India. Varanasi, as the Governor General of Bengal from 1773 to 1785, he initiated reforms and laid earlier foundation for the future development of the service. Charles Cornwallis established and modernized civil service on behalf of British East India Company. He is known as the father of civil service in India. Charles Cornwallis, who succeeded Varanasi as Governor General. Civil service was mainly established for commercial purposes and effective administration. The Indian Civil Service was originally established by the British East India Company to manage its commercial interest in India. However, as the company role in governing India expanded, it also took an administrative responsibility. The Indian Civil Service was characterized by its hierarchical structure, merit-based recruitment, and the dominance of British officials. The Indian Civil Service was a highly structured organization with a clear hierarchy. Recruitment to the Indian Civil Service was based on merit through competitive examination. However, the service was dominated by British officials, reflecting the colonial nature of the British India. Civil service are the backbone of any government, responsible for implementing policy, providing essential policies, providing essential services, and maintaining law and order. Civil service are the essential administrative machinery of any government. Without a strong and efficient civil service, a government cannot function effectively. During British rule, role of Cornwallis. Lord Cornwallis, who served as the Governor General of India from 1786 to 1793, played a pivotal role in shaping the Indian civil service. Now we see some of his reforms. Dual system of civil servants. Cornwallis introduced the dual system, dividing civil servants into covenanted primarily British for higher position and uncovenanted primarily Indians for lower position categories. This system, while initially favoring British officials. Merit-based recruitment. Cornwallis emphasizes merit-based recruitment for both British and Indian officials. This marked a departure from earlier practices that relied more on patronage and nepotism. Regularized salary structure. Cornwallis introduced a standardized salary structure for civil servants aimed at reducing corruption and ensuring fair compensation. Land reforms. Cornwallis land reforms, particularly the permanent land settlement, had a significant impact on the revenue system and the role of civil servants in land administration. Separation of judicial and executive functions. This reform aimed to ensure a fair and impartial justice system by separating the judicial and executive branches of government. These are the key reforms laid the foundation for the modern Indian administrative services. Role of Wesley. He was the Governor General of India from 1798 to 1805, who played a significant role in shaping the Indian civil service. Fort William College. Wesley established the Fort William College in Calcutta to train new recruits to the Indian civil service in 1800. East India College. The Court of Directors of the East India Company disapproved of Fort William College and instead established the East India College in Albury, England in 1806. These colleges aimed to provide training to British officials who would serve in the Indian civil service. Next, Charter Act of 1853. Transfer of governance. The Act transferred the governance of India from the East India Company to the British Crown. The reduction in the company's autonomy has a profound impact on the administration of the country, including the Indian civil service. Open competition for Indian civil service. The most notable provision of the Act was the introduction of open competition for recruitment to the ICS. It leads to the opening of the service to the wider range of candidates. Merit-based selection. The Act emphasizes merit-based selection, ensuring that the most qualified individuals were chosen for the Indian civil service. This helped to improve the efficiency and professionalism of the services. While the Act did not immediately lead to a significant increase in the number of Indian officials in the Indian civil service, it laid the groundwork for future Indianization and future reforms. Macaulay's Report 1854. This report, officially known as the Report of the Select Committee on the Education of the Natives of India through Merit Basis, was a pivotal document in the history of Indian education and the Indian civil service, published in 1854. This report led to the creation of Civil Service Commission in London in 1854. This commission conducted exam in 1855 and the minimum age limit to attend this exam was 23. So it created way to join Indian people in coordinated services. Macaulay's report advocated for the adoption of English as the medium of instruction in Indian school and colleges and played a crucial role in shaping the modern Indian civil service. Next come to the Indian Civil Service Act 1861. This act towards the Indianization, the little number of Indians to enter the Indian civil service. Certain principal posts were reserved for the members of the coordinated services, primarily British, but the exams was held in England in English. In 1863, Satyendranath Tagore became the first Indian to join the Indian civil service. In 1866, the minimum age limit was reduced to 21, and 4 other Indians succeeded in cracking Indian civil services. Overall, this act allowed few Indians to enter the service. The majority of senior positions remained dominated by British officials, and the examination process continued to favor British candidates. Next, Statutory Civil Service 1877. Linton established Statutory Civil Service that consists of 1/6 of coordinated posts, were to be filled by Indians of high families through nomination by local government. The Secretary of the State and the Viceroy had to approve these nominations. However, this system was failed and abolished. In 1877, the minimum age limit was reduced from 21 to 19. The failure of statutory civil service system is due to dominance of British officials, lack of meritocracy, that is fairness in exam, resistance from British officials. Indian National Congress. Indian National Congress was established in 1885. Demands they put forward: increase the age limit for Indian civil service exam, conduct the exam in India also. These two demands are implemented in later periods. Atchison Commission 1886. Lord Dufferin set up Atchison Commission for dropping the term coordinated and uncoordinated services and merged them into imperial civil services. Recruitment from Britain officials for higher position. Provisional civil services. Recruitment primarily from India but with some British members. Subordinate civil services. Recruitment from India for serving lower level administration. This commission suggests to raise the age limit from 19 to 23. This commission recommended to abolish the statutory civil service. This commission also recommended that simultaneous civil service examination in India and England should be conducted. However, this recommendation was not fully implemented. Next come to the Montfort Reform 1919. Its recommendations. It recommended the concept of a public service commission to oversee the recruitment process for civil service positions. They suggest simultaneous exam should be held in England and India. 1/3 of the civil service position were to be filled by candidates from India itself. The civil service was to be divided into two categories: All India services and Central services. In 1922, first ever Indian civil service exam held in India. Thus, this reform were not only recommendation, it valuably implemented. Lee Commission 1923. This commission had an equal number of British officials and Indian members. Recommendations. It used to set a public service commission immediately, which led to the formation of Public Service Commission in 1926. This commission suggests that 40% of Indians be directly recruited and 40% be reserved for British candidates and 20% of Indians promoted from provisional services. Recruitment for transfer fields like education, civil and medical services should be made by provisional government. Secretary of State should continue to appoint officers for Indian civil services forest services, and other higher level positions. Overall, this Lee Commission played a significant role in Indianizing the civil service and providing greater opportunities for Indians to participate in the administration of the country. Finally, Government of India Act 1935. It established Federal Public Service Commission, which is responsible for recruitment to central government services. Provisional Public Service Commission, which is responsible for recruitment to provisional government services. Despite the establishment of this commission, the direction and control of the civil service remained largely in British hands. After 1939, many Indians were joining Indian civil service because of non-availability of recruitment from Britain due to World War II. Overall, the Government of India Act 1935 marked a significant step towards Indianization of civil service, but it did not fully eliminate British control. The Act laid the foundation for future reforms that would eventually lead to the Indian independence. Next topic, post-independence. After independence in 1950, the Federal Public Service Commission was renamed to Union Public Service Commission. The Indian Civil Service was renamed to Indian Administrative Service (IAS). Other All India services such as the Indian Police Service (IPS), Indian Forest Service (IFS), and Indian Forest Service (IFS) were also established. Part 14th of the Indian Constitution, drafted in 1950, contains Article 308 to 323, which provides constitutional safeguard for civil servants regulating their recruitment and conditions of services. In 1951, All India Service Act. This act defined the structure, function, and recruitment procedures for the Indian Services (IAS), Foreign Services (IFS), Indian Police Service (IPS), and Indian Forest Service (IFS). Sandhanam Committee, 1962. This committee was set up to inquiry into allegations of corruption in the public service. It made recommendations to improve the integrity and efficiency of the civil service. Three administrative reform commissions, first, second, and third, were established between 1966 and 2010 to improve efficiency, accountability, and governance in the Indian civil services. Overall, these changes marked a significant transformation of the civil service in independent India, reflecting the country's aspiration for self-governance, national development, and good governance. Now it's practice time. Earlier British rule. Who introduced the dual system of civil servants in India? Lord Cornwallis, Lord Macaulay, Lord Ripon, Lord Curzon. Which act allowed a limited number of Indians to enter the Indian civil services? Government of India Act 1858, Indian Civil Service Act 1861, Government of India Act 1919, Government of India Act 1935. Post-independent reforms. The Indian Civil Services was renamed the Indian Military Services (IAS) after the Indian Rebellion of 1857, India independence in 1947, the Government of India Act 1935, the partition of India in 1947. Which commission was set up to review the structure and functioning of the Indian administration after independence? Hudson Commission, Lee Commission, Sandhanam Committee, Administrative Reform Commission. Key reforms and acts. The Macaulay Committee recommended the establishment of the Indian Civil Service, the Indianization of the Indian Civil Service, a merit-based system for recruitment to the Indian Civil Service, the separation of judicial and executive functions. The Government of India Act 1919 introduced diarchy, provisional autonomy, both A and B, neither A nor B. The Union Public Service Commission (UPSC) was established to conduct examination for recruitment to the All India services, advise the government on administrative matters, oversee the functioning of the Indian civil service, all of the above. Comment me the right answer. Thanks for studying with me today. I hope you found this helpful. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe to our channel, share my video to help me reach more aspirants. Comment me your experience in this video. Your feedback is invaluable. Let's work together to achieve our dreams of becoming civil servants. Once again, thank you for watching, and I look forward to see you in my next video.